Well, I guess we're going to get started. I'm ahead doing my delay thing so the notifications can't go out. But good morning. Good morning and welcome to Brewing Happiness. Grab your cup of coffee, tea, whatever you love to drink this morning, and let's have a little chat. So, I don't know about you, but I grew up knowing about boredom, right? I grew up, boredom was just a part of your life when you were a kid. Not sure about kids today. I mean, when we were kids, frankly, there were no screens, no devices. We didn't have the instant wish gratifications. Before there was a scroll or the up next pop-up. We used to have to wait for things, right? Like for our favorite show to come on. Because on a certain time of the day, there was no demand. We had to wait for the circus to come to town once a year. We had to wait for the mail to get a card with our birthday money from grandma, right? Mom would say, bored? You're bored? I have something for you to do. And we would scatter to the wind because she meant washing baseboards or some chore she was going to give us. But, you know, we scattered out in the early morning. We got up, we left the house in the morning. We didn't come back till dark, and we entertained ourselves all day. We weren't afraid of boredom. Now, it seems in today's culture, boredom is something to be avoided at all costs. We've grown uncomfortable with being bored, right? The first thing we try to think of is, what can I do to kill this boredom? And the grandkids, they think being bored is like the worst thing in the world that could happen to you. We're not really teaching our kids to enjoy doing nothing or to entertain themselves without electronics so much, right? And now being on lockdown, we had quarantine, right? Lockdown, quarantine, that probably caused some boredom. The pandemic and the resulting quarantine has emphasized our reliance on the external rather than the internal world. People often feel tremendously bored when they are not engaged with or entertained by something external. From clinical psychologist Carla Marie Manley, PhD, specifically talking about post-pandemic, right? So what is boredom? Well, come on, please. We've all been bored, right? You're sitting in class and the teacher is droning on and on and on about some subject you just don't care about. Or you are waiting for your delayed flight and you're sitting in the airport, right? Sometimes we daydream or we watch the clock. We look for something to distract us. Nobody looks forward to boredom. Nobody says, gee, I think I'll be bored today, right? It can leave us angry and frustrated and cause us sometimes to behave in less than flattering ways. It can even make you overeat, right? Some say, about some differences of opinion here, some say that boredom is an emotion. Others that it's actually a lack of emotion, right? Lack of stimuli and emotion. Boredom is really the lack of one emotion, and that's excitement, right? There's no interest. There's no eagerness. We feel bored when we see the same scenery every single day. And it works a little bit like hunger, right? If you don't eat, you get hungry. If you don't change your scenery or have some excitement in your life, you don't have something to look forward to, you get boredom. Hunger, loneliness, and boredom kind of all function the same way. If you don't get food, affection, an orgasm, excitement, you are going to be hungry, lonely, lustful, and bored, right? So if boredom, okay, some confusion about whether it's an emotion or not. But if it is an emotion, it's a fairly weak one. It's hard to detect and isolate. We might think we're unhappy, we're frustrated, we might think other things. We don't feel it until it's strong and persistent. And it's a dull pain, not a sharp pain like how about our feelings hurt or being triggered, right? Boredom's kind of a dull background pain, just kind of like, a paper in Perspectives on Psychological Science suggests that boredom is all about our ability to pay attention. A few conditions need to be met to make boredom. You need a certain amount of energy to even be bored. See, when we have low energy, when there is little going on around us and we have low energy, we feel calm and peaceful. That's when we are a few minutes of respite to ourselves. We don't mind that there's nothing going on. In fact, we're kind of so happy to not be stimulated for a few minutes. But when we have high energy, right? We have some high energy that feels like it needs to be doing something, and there's nothing right in front of us, nothing available that sounds good to us. That's when we're bored. We're bored when we have trouble focusing our attention. It's not really about not having anything to do. It's really about focus. And we think the reason is our environment, right? I'm sitting in the airport. I'm waiting for a plane. I am so bored. I can't. My flight is delayed. I have 2 hours to just sit in this seat, right? Well, the stress of being in the airport, waiting for the flight, not knowing what time things are going to happen, makes us unable to focus. Because if you look around, there's a lot of things you could do at the airport, right? People watching. Fantastically fun at the airport. You could grab a bite to eat. You could watch the television. CNN's always on a TV near you somewhere, right? We have, those things don't happen though, because we can't focus our attention because we have this stress in the background. We can't concentrate. You think it's because you're at the airport, right? But there's plenty going on around you. It's you. A study by the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology in 1989 talked about a study where participants were asked to listen to a tape of a person reading an article in the next room. Now, they chunked them into 3 groups, and there was also a TV playing for some. And one group, the volume was very, very low, kind of had a hard, you could hear it, but not hear what the people are saying. One, the volume was high and annoying, and the third, no volume at all. So the group with low volume, the group that couldn't quite hear what was going on with the TV, ranked themselves as being more bored than the group that had the loud TV or no volume at all, right? For the loud volume group, well, kind of clear. They knew why they were distracted. They were frustrated and annoyed, not bored, right? That loud TV was keeping them from focusing on what they wanted to focus on. So they knew what was going on. But the group with low volume, and the group with no volume, well, they didn't have any distraction, right? So they didn't count. But the group with the low volume, they couldn't concentrate and they didn't know why. Couldn't figure out that this was, this thing they couldn't quite process because they couldn't quite hear it well enough. So the assumption is the group with low volume couldn't concentrate. So they thought this lack of attention, they labeled this lack of attention or the lack of being able to pay attention as bored. Seems we know when we're bored, right? And we want to, so we know we're bored. We want to alleviate the feeling, so we daydream or we let our minds wander. But sometimes that can work, right? Letting our minds wander can break the boredom. But studies show that the more you daydream, the more bored you get. Your mind knows that you're trying to avoid boredom, and so it gets bored with the daydream. Boredom often happens when we have no control over the situation. Waiting rooms, right? Again, back to the airplane departure gates. Schoolrooms. Usually we react to an unpleasant situation by changing the situation. If I don't like the book I'm reading, or if the TV show is annoying me, or if there's a kid crying, usually I can get up and move away. But when we can't control the situation, what can you do when you can't change it, right? And real boredom, that's when our real boredom sets in. Again, we can't pay attention because it causes stress, narrows our working memory. And again, hard to pay attention. So how do you feel about boredom? What do you think? Do you dread it? Do you kind of welcome it as a respite from the relentless drone of life? I kind of find sometimes I don't really mind being bored, right? I feel like I have spent my whole life trying to fill in the moments of boredom. So I remember being in calculus class in high school. I wasn't really keeping up, right? I knew that my real work would come in tutoring and after-school math lab. So the lecture didn't make a whole lot of sense to me at the time, and so I doodled, right? I didn't have a notebook. There was no notebook in my. It didn't matter what class it was. I didn't have a notebook in my group that wasn't covered with flowers and butterflies and little stick men and puppy dogs and all the things I love to draw, right? When I was a kid, I played with little bitty stuffed animals. I would build them homes and beds out of tissue boxes and Scotch tape and just play for hours with my little toys, right? Because I was bored. And so I found something to do. That's what we do with boredom. If we truly want to avoid boredom, or we really want to fill in the boredom, then we have to do something. We have to decide what to do to fill that time that doesn't feel like wasted time or daydreams. Well, excuse me, I'm fighting a little cold this morning. Drinking tea today instead of coffee. All right. Actually, here's what they found. Boredom allows us to be creative. Being bored kind of sends you back to get in touch with your little child inside, right? With your deepest desires, the things that as life goes on and responsibilities come on, and we kind of let those daydreams or those dreams or those things we think we want to do with our life, we let those go out of reality, the way the life rolls out. But boredom can give you space. It creates the space for creative ideas to ruminate and emerge, right? If something's going on all the time, if you're constantly talking and listening and being hit with stimuli all the time, there's no time to be creative. There's no room to be creative. You're constantly being bombarded. Boredom, or lack of stimulus, lets us really create space, right? We start dancing around the edges of it, and we create this big open area of nothingness that's where creative juices come in. Oh no, I'm going to fill this space with something I love, right? For me, I dance all the time, right? In the kitchen, when I'm at Target, at the beach, if I hear music, I dance. Even if I don't hear music, sometimes I just sing along to my dancing. So I have some reason to dance, right? I do little dances if no one's watching all the time. I dance it. I do it because it's fun. It's fun for me. I like it. It allows me to be me, right? I'm over worrying about what other people think. And if I feel like breaking out into a little jig in Target, I do. Not the grandkids don't love it. Trust me, grandkids think I'm an embarrassing person to be with, but I love it. It makes me happy. It keeps me, I don't want to say it keeps me from being bored, but that's how I fill in the boredom. A little bit of fun. Boredom can lead us to huge epiphanies, right? To joy, to freedom, to fun, to great ideas, to greater productivity if we just put it to work. Now, John Eastwood, a clinical psychologist at the University of Toronto, says, we are very used to being passively entertained. We have changed our understanding of the human condition as one of a vessel that needs to be filled. Because, my friends, we are living in a paradigm shift, right? We are living in a paradigm shift about how we receive information, how much information comes our way. And 50 years ago, right, you had maybe the TV and a radio. Guys talking out on the street, that was the stimulus coming at you if you're sitting on the stoop, bored, nothing to do. Today, there's screens all around you, right? There's opportunity. We don't sit there anymore and just listen to the sounds around us. We don't relax into boredom like maybe it's a gift, a respite, a break from reality, right? So what do we do about boredom? Okay, if you're dedicated to getting rid of your boredom, what do you do? So meditation. We always come back to meditation, don't we? Lowers your arousal or your energy level. Meditation pulls you down into that low energy, calm space. Remember, boredom comes because I have excess energy that needs to go somewhere. So breathing, meditation, taking a slow walk, right? Those are all designed to lower the energy level so that I can be in that place of peace and calm and not call that boredom, right? Music. The key to boredom is music. It crowds out all your distractions. It can influence your mood. It can counteract your boredom simply by listening to music, which is great because I'm sure most of us carry a little music box and headphones everywhere we go, right? Not totally dissing the technology. It's not all horrible, right? We're pretty happy that we can listen to music wherever we go. All right. Make a list. Here's another thought. Make a list of what you are truly afraid of downtime. What will happen if you're not busy? Write this down. Write down the answers that come to you. What will happen if I'm not busy? What thoughts, beliefs, fears emerge when your mind and body are quiet? Maybe these are some things you're going to want to work on anyway, right? A lot of us feel guilty when we're bored. We need to be useful every moment of every day. We need to be doing something useful all the time. So we feel guilt if we enjoy a down moment, a moment of nothing to do. I'm just going to sit and listen to the birds chirping right now. Some might call it boredom. I call it fantastic. But, right, we feel guilty when we do that. We should be getting something done. Surely there's some chore that needs to be done. Can you learn to sit with these uncomfortable feelings and thoughts? If guilt or a feeling of I should be doing something else or whatever is coming up for you, when you're bored, can you learn to live with it, right? Can you answer to it? We don't know how to do nothing. It's been a very long time since we, as a society, embraced doing nothing as a good thing, right? It's a long time since we practiced it. But connecting with boredom can be so beneficial. That's exactly right. It can help your mental health, your creativity. It can switch you out of the mode of doing to the mode of being, right? This goes back to that I got to be doing something all the time. I've got to be accomplishing something all the time. And so being bored just kind of lets us be. We are human beings, not human doings, right? We need time to be. It soothes our nervous system. Being bored actually, lack of stimulus is good for you sometimes. It actually kind of soothes our nervous system. Life can be frenetic. It lets us calm down a little bit. Studies back this up. They show boredom helps boost individual productivity and idea generations. By allowing your thoughts to roam freely, we learn to focus on matters without distraction. Now, Manoush Zomorodi wrote a book called Bored and Brilliant. Talks about all the fabulous things that come from being bored and how being bored can lead to brilliance. And then that led to, inspired a thing called Bored and Brilliant Challenges. Now, these are challenges that participants are challenged to go out and observe their world without photographing it. I always forget to take photos. Every event I go to, we have wonderful parties. I go out with girlfriends. I have some once-in-a-lifetime events, and I got home, and I'm like, I didn't take a single freaking picture. I'm busy in the moment. I'm trying to be it. Now, this is not always a good thing. I wish I had a picture, but I forget. It's okay to enjoy the moment. We don't have to be documenting and photographing every great moment in our life. Just stop. Just enjoy it, right? They were the challenge. They were in the challenge in the Bored and Brilliant challenges. Participants were asked to write down small observations of their environment. So if you're sitting at your desk, or you're sitting out in your backyard, or you're sitting in a park, get out a little notebook and write down, what do you see? See two birds having a little conversation. See a little boy fall down and his mom pick him up. See all kinds of fun things when you stop and look at what's going on around you. And they were asked to, the participants in the challenge were asked to block out time to not be available online. What? Time when you can't reach me? Right. Blocked out time to be bored. And this is all the idea of boosting our creativity. Now, a couple things. Positive ways to deal with boredom. One is to get comfortable with something called Niksen. Niksen. This is the Danish art of doing nothing. Again, I believe we all could benefit by learning to enjoy doing nothing. Another way is to breathe with intention. Notice your breathing. Slow it down. Breathe deeply for 2 minutes. Be where you are for 2 minutes. Again, takes that excess energy of boredom. I gotta be doing something. Moves us in from our sympathetic to our parasympathetic nervous system. We move from fight or flight. I gotta go. I gotta beat you up. I gotta run. To rest and digest, relaxation, observation. Right? Notice your body. Breathing. Say, become aware of your body. Breathing. When you breathe, say, I feel calm right now. My heartbeat is slow and rhythmic. Back to kind of our affirmations, right? Notice your body's reaction to doing nothing when you are alone with your thoughts. Do you feel it somewhere in your body? And then another tactic is to show gratitude and appreciation for the moment. You know, good old gratitude. We want to use gratitude as a tool whenever we can because it makes us happy. It puts us in touch with the things that are going well, not going well, and reminds us that we're truly living a blessed life, right? So show gratitude and appreciation, even for the bored moments. My dad used to say all the time, there are worse things than being bored, right? Being bored is not the worst thing that can happen to us. You could say to yourself, my body feels heavy and relaxed. My mind wants to chatter, but I'm slowly letting that go. My spirit is light and free. I'm very peaceful. Right? One that works for you. It's okay to address that. I don't know about you. There's a lot going on in here. There is constant chatter. So to move past that, to slow it down, does require some effort, right? Some breathing, some refocusing of the energy around us. Let go of those thoughts that show up in a non-judgmental way. There are no bad thoughts, right? Maybe they're just not welcome right now. I just don't want to think about this right now. But don't judge those thoughts. Just say, this is what I'm doing now. I'm being peaceful and calm right now. The more you practice letting go of that chatter in your head, the easier it becomes. Of course, this is starting to sound like meditation. Again, another place we go back to all the time, right? Meditation, the answer to everything. So embrace boredom. Don't run from it. Practice being bored. That's right. Practice being bored. I'm going to be bored today. I'm going to set my clock for an hour, and I'm going to do nothing but sit in my garden and observe what goes on around me. Does it make you anxious and frustrated and unhappy? Well, that's something to think about, isn't it? That sitting for an hour in a nice setting is not something you can do comfortably. You can work on that. You can practice on that. You can learn to sit comfortably in boredom and create that space and that calmness and that peace. You'd be surprised the answers to problems and creative ideas just flow in and fill up that space, right? So embrace your boredom. Don't run from it. Get clear on what being bored feels like to you. What are the physical sensations that accompany it? Are you fighting the impulse to check your phone? Right? Speaking of the phone, do you have to have the phone with you 24/7? Could you take a walk without it? Could you go a day without it? It's all about mindset, right? This is all about how you approach being bored. If it's in your mind being bored is the worst thing that could happen to you, you will do everything in your mind to avoid it. But if you can kind of think about it as peaceful moment, right? A break, a respite, a time for recharging, just a time to sit and be and not do. Is there time for boredom in your life? How balanced is your life? You got time for some boredom? Maybe you should. If you find yourself really bored and you just can't take it, here's some questions to ask yourself. What did I learn today? Who did I inspire today? Instead of just letting our mind off to the races, it always goes someplace we don't want it to go, right? It always goes to some worry, some problem that we're chewing on. But if we can manage that a little bit, think about it. I'm bored right now, but I'm not going to let myself go to the races. And in fact, what I'm going to do is answer some questions that are really helpful to me to know the answer. So a little bit all over the place today, right? Boredom. Embrace being bored. let the kids be bored for a little while. See what goodness comes out of just doing nothing. So that's the show for today. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you on Monday. And until then, make it a happy day.